Hey guys, welcome back to today's video. Today is Sunday, July 5th, 2020, and today I'm going to be talking about Kanye West's 2020 presidential election announcement. So I know this is something that seems very trivial and, super interesting to say the least. Kanye West tweeted this last night on the 4th of July saying that he was running for president, despite having no campaign website and no clear sign of him running other than that one statement he made in the past in 2017. There was no real general idea that he was going to announce a presidential election bid. Now, there are a number of problems with the possibility of a Kanye West campaign, most notably that some Democrats think that Kanye West could be running to take African-American votes away from Vice President Biden, but we do have some things to talk about. So I know while this may seem somewhat of a joke to many people, at the same time, in this day and age, anything can be really taken seriously, regardless if it's starting out as a joke or not. Now, Kanye West, realistically, I do not think is going to actually try to put his name on any ballot. If anything, people will try to write his name in at most. I realistically don't think that he's going to be a notable candidate per se. I mean, he has the money for it, and, much like Michael Bloomberg, could very well try to buy an election. But I will say that his number one, he doesn't have as much money as Michael Bloomberg. So in the sense that he would be wasting, half his net worth on an election wouldn't necessarily be too beneficial, if not more than half his net worth. And, Kanye West, I think that with his very large advocacy for Donald Trump in the past, despite, one interview where he said he's no longer going to wear a MAGA hat. Other than that, Kanye West has been a very staunch supporter of President Trump and his vision for this country, with Kim Kardashian and the White House. And I know it's crazy hearing a lot of these names, but if you had told Mitt Romney that the 2016 Republican nominee was going to be Donald Trump, people would have laughed at it. I mean, that was a recurring joke because Donald Trump had made fun of President Obama. Now, I'm not comparing Kanye West to Donald Trump by any means. Donald Trump was a one in a lifetime candidate that did very well on the presidential level and surprised us all. I don't think Kanye West can run the same type of bid. Nate Silver actually came out with a pretty good tweet today that said the same people that say Kanye West could win an election because politics is different now are the same people that said Marianne Williamson could do the same thing. And I do think that's true. You can't just take someone who's successful and throw them out there and expect them to win an election just because people know who they are. The reason why I worked with Donald Trump is because he resonated with a base that wanted someone who was good for the economy, someone who knew exactly what he was doing. While Kanye West does have a very successful business and his family is pretty much the pinnacle of wealth, I will also say that he doesn't exactly have too much inspiration behind him either. He isn't approved of by many Americans. In fact, Donald Trump has a much higher approval rating amongst him compared to him, even amongst, white and Republican voters and even black voters in this country. We actually have to talk about that in just a second, but I don't think Kanye West is any similar to Donald Trump in terms of a realistic shot at the presidency, and I don't think he's actually going to, fully commit to anything. I honestly think this is just one big publicity stunt, but since it does have to go within my scope and somehow, social, not necessarily social media, but celebrities are pushing themselves into politics for whatever reason, I do think that it is worthy of discussion, especially since it's a surprise to us all. So, Politico came out with this article today that actually quotes some interesting things. So in April 2018, this is the poll that I was referencing, Kanye West, right after he had publicly came out in support of President Trump wearing the Make America Great Again hat in the Oval Office, posing with pictures with him, Kim Kardashian coming into the White House as well, Kanye West had a 9% favorability rating amongst black adults in this country. Now, I think that's pretty abysmal, considering the fact that some Democrats are worried about Kanye West possibly taking away black votes from Joe Biden. But based off this, only 1 in 10 black Americans approve of Kanye West or view him favorably. So nothing really to approve, but view him favorably. 13% of Democrats have a favorable opinion of West, and surprisingly, 34% of Republicans approve of Kanye West, and 20% of white adults approve of Kanye West. So with his vocal activism for President Trump, it seems that he has won over about a third of the Republican Party back in 2018, and I can imagine it would be more now. But amongst black Americans and Democrats, none of them really seem to like him. A 13% approval rating is, horrible. I don't think any president has ever hit a 13% approval rating. Or in terms of candidates, I don't think any realistic candidate like Hillary Clinton didn't even hit 13% in terms of a favorability rating amongst Democrats. So when we're talking about Kanye West possibly being a realistic candidate, the chances are slim to none. He's running very late in the game. Even if he was running for the Democratic bid or even the Republican bid, I still think he wouldn't have much of a shot. I think most of this is just talking about voting for him as a joke, the same way that Harambe got 10,000 votes in the country in 2016. I mean, 10,000 Americans went in and voted for Harambe, which is laughable, but also, starts to raise questions as to, can these joke candidates actually turn elections? And I think that's what some people are worried about with Hillary Clinton's narrow margins of losing in Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania. What if Kanye West does get his name on the ballots and he gets 3 million votes nationwide, which would be very similar to what we saw with Jill Stein and Gary Johnson in this country? Realistically, it probably wouldn't change much if the margins aren't as close as they are in 2016. But I think a lot of people are afraid that, let's say people vote for Kanye West as a joke and they write his name in because they think, oh, it's funny. I wasn't going to vote for either of them. But if it came down to it, most of the time when people are presented with two choices, they'll either break for Donald Trump or break for Joe Biden. Same thing happened in 2016, just more people broke for broke for Donald Trump or the third party candidates. Now there's no really notable third party candidate. So for someone who may say, I don't want to vote for either candidate, they may actually end up supporting someone who seems like a joke, but in a mass, vote would actually make an impact on an election. I think that's what a lot of Democrats are worried about with Kanye West. But I don't think they have much to worry about, considering that only 9% of black adults really view Kanye West favorably. I understand that he's a pretty successful entrepreneur, but at the same time, you do have to understand that nobody really likes him in this country, realistically. There's a lot of Trump supporters that do 100% praise Kanye West, but at the same time, a 34% approval rating amongst Republicans does not translate to a win nationwide or even being competitive in any state. So also, number one, besides that, number two, actually, we also have to realize that he probably isn't actually running. There's no FEC filings by him, and the only one that's running is a Green Party candidate who's got $0 to their name, fundraised absolutely no money. So there is no official fundraising or a campaign committee for Kanye West. So realistically, it doesn't look like he's going to be an actual candidate. I know, again, it seems very crazy that I'm making this video, but people were probably saying that about Donald Trump 5 years ago. And, I will also say Kanye West is not Donald Trump, but we have a very notable guy running or saying he's running for president. So I just thought it would be interesting to cover, considering that he had, threw this around since 2016 practically, or 2017. And people were talking about it for quite some time. And then, he had come out in support of President Trump. So people were discussing, would he run for the Democratic nomination or not? I made a video. Actually, one of my most popular videos was a Kanye West election prediction. So I just thought it was within my limits to go ahead and focus on this topic just for one video. I have 1,000 up, so this isn't going to make too much of a difference. So when we're looking at the possibility of a Kanye presidency, absolutely not. If we're talking about him getting his name on some of the ballots, he would have to act very quickly. If not, some deadlines have already passed. I mean, he would have to get his name as a realistic independent candidate or as, a third-party candidate under a notable party. So maybe he could, run with the Working Families Party in New York, which probably won't happen considering that a lot of them have already had their primaries. It really all depends on where Kanye West would even get his name on, probably in not necessarily swing states, but maybe some smaller states that would allow this to be Kanye West to be that little eye on the ballot or whatever he would run as. I really have no idea. Maybe he would form his own political party. But, just thinking about it as a possibility, again, not a realistic candidate. But I do personally believe this is a publicity stunt, to say the least. So with no real clear indication of a Kanye West presidential bid, with no website up, Kanye 2020, I believe actually a high schooler at the time purchased that and it was trying to sell it for money. So maybe he'll finally get the website sold. I know he's been renewing the URL, Kanye2020.com. It actually goes down if you go ahead and check it out. I think it's either from people trying to go to it or there's just truly nothing on there. But it looks like the betting market doesn't actually think that he's going to run for president. It looks like it's 40 cents for a yes share. So let's actually go ahead and see if it's moved up or down. So it's moved down even more. So at its peak, I guess 47 cents for the closing share on 4th of July of people saying that Kanye West will run for president. But now it's down to 36 cents. It doesn't look like the country thinks he's going to run for president. Realistically, he doesn't have a chance. There's no way he would win a singular state. And if anything, it would just be maybe taking away a handful of votes from Vice President Biden. I don't think it'll have as much of an impact on an election as Ross Perot or Ralph Nader in 2000, but there could be some implications if Kanye West does end up getting on swing state ballots. But again, I don't think that's a realistic shot for him, and I don't think he has any real chance of the presidency. Some people were talking about whether or not he should wait for 2024, but then, that would have to, again, there's so many things that would have to go on right for him in order to even win a nomination, number one, and then even come close to winning the presidency. So again, that's pretty much it. I probably won't be covering this unless he's made another statement in the future. This was just, a one-time video. I think it is worthy of discussion for a brief time period, but I think it's a publicity stunt, and there isn't really much more to talk about other than that. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. Make sure you go ahead and check out the video on your screen. It's geared towards your interest, and then a playlist for my 2020 election predictions. Please consider subscribing on the left if you haven't already. There should be a little circle right over the profile pic, and check out our Instagram and Twitter. Let's Talk Elect for Instagram and LT Elections for Twitter. Again, thank you all for watching this video, and I will see you all later today.